From ancient kingdoms, empires, and missionary schools to megacities, Afrobeats and oil shocks, we journey through the people, power, wealth, and creative energy that made modern Nigeria. Nigeria, a nation of over 200 million people, a continent maker of culture, and a place where ancient kingdoms meet roaring megacities. It is the story of oil and entrepreneurship, of resilience and contradiction. Today, we trace Nigeria's evolution, the kingdoms, the empires, the colonial period, the conflict and the creativity to understand how this giant of Africa became what it is today. The evolution of Nigeria deep dives quick snapshot, geography, population, and why Nigeria matters. Nigeria sits on the Gulf of Guinea, with diverse ecologies from Sahelian savanna to forest and coastal delta. The Niger and Benue rivers braid life across the interior. Nigeria is Africa's most populous nation, estimates around 237,240 million people in 2025, a demographic force shaping African markets and politics. Lagos is its economic heartbeat. Abuja is the planned federal capital. Port Harcourt anchors oil infrastructure. Why does Nigeria matter? Economically, it is a major oil and gas producer. Culturally, its films and music travel the globe. Politically, its elections and choices ripple across West Africa. Understanding Nigeria is to understand a large part of Africa's present and future. One kingdoms and peoples, ancient kingdoms and colonial polities. Long before colonial borders, the lands we now call Nigeria were a patchwork of powerful polities. In the forested south, the Edo people built a sophisticated court in Benin, famed for its bronze casting and statecraft. In the Yoruba lands, Oyo emerged as a powerful empire with cavalry and a sophisticated political system. To the north, Hausa city-states and the Sahelian Kanem-Bornu and Bornu empires connected trans-Saharan trade routes in thought, horses, and scholars. Social organization, religion, oral histories, and craftsmanship from the Ifa heads to Benin bronzes anchored long-standing cultural identities. These kingdoms engaged in trade, diplomacy, and warfare. They shaped the political ideas that would endure into the colonial age. These polities were linked into broader African trade networks with North Africa, the Mediterranean, and later the Atlantic world, forming a colonial tapestry of exchange and state formation. Contact, trade, and colonial rule. From the 15th century onward, European contact reshaped the coastal economies. The Atlantic trade first in enslaved people, later in palm oil, rubber, and other exports altered political economies. The British, who already had strong commercial interests, gradually moved from trading partners to colonial rulers. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the British formalized control through a series of protectorates and amalgamated diverse regions into the colony and protectorate of Nigeria in 1914. Colonial rule reorganized traditional power structures, introduced cash crop economies, and built railways and schools, but always in ways oriented to metropolitan needs. Colonial education and missionary activity seeded new elites and an emerging nationalist politics that would contest colonial rule after World War II. Road to Independence and First Republic. In the post-war years, a new generation of leaders emerged. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, and Ahmadu Bello represented competing visions of Nigeria's future regionalism vs. federalism, different development strategies, and plural identities. Nigeria gained independence from Britain on October 1, 1960, entering the First Republic with a parliamentary system. Yet the First Republic was fragile. Regional tensions, party rivalries, and contests over resources and power set the stage for political instability, tensions that erupted in the years ahead. Military years, civil war, and reconstruction. The late 1960s marked Nigeria's most traumatic years. A military coup in 1966 sparked ethnic and regional tensions that culminated in the Biafran secession and a devastating civil war from 1967 to 1970. The human cost was enormous. Famine and suffering left scars that shaped subsequent politics. After the war, military rule became the dominant political form for decades, punctuated by brief civilian interludes. Post-war governments pursued national integration, sometimes with heavy-handed policies, and later, the 1970s oil boom transformed the economy, bringing fast revenue and new challenges. Oil, Ramsey state and economic cycles. Discoveries of commercial oil and gas in the Niger Delta reshaped Nigeria's economy. Oil exports became the cornerstone of government revenue, public spending, and foreign exchange. But with resource wealth came the classic dilemma: dependence on a single commodity, vulnerability to oil price cycles, and local grievances where communities bore environmental costs. Several consequences followed: boom and bust macroeconomics, corruption and elite capture of rents, and local conflicts in the Delta fueled by protests and militant actions. Policy responses from nationalization to privatization, and periodic IMF or World Bank programs attempted to stabilize growth, but often left structural problems unaddressed. Recently, reforms in the 2020s and beyond aimed at subsidy removal and currency reforms have been politically contentious, but designed to reorient the economy toward more sustainable frameworks. Culture and soft power. Nollywood, Afrobeats, literature, and diaspora. Nigeria's cultural impact is outsized. Nollywood, the country's film industry, produces thousands of films each year and reaches a vast audience across Africa and the diaspora. The industry's production model and storytelling resonate widely and generate substantial cultural exports. Music. Afrobeats and its artists became global phenomena in the 2010s and 2022. Nigerian artists' streaming and export earnings have surged. The sound of Lagos is now a global soundtrack. A growing creative economy includes literature, fashion, and digital content creators who amplify Nigeria's soft power. The diaspora further extends Nigeria's cultural footprint from London and New York to the large Nigerian communities across West Africa, channeling investment, talent, and cultural exchange. Cities and urban life. Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kano, Kaduna, Anambra, Rivers, etc. Urbanization defines modern Nigeria. Lagos, estimated in recent years to be home to tens of millions of people and still growing, functions as a business, creative, and logistical hub. Its rapid growth has generated wealth and acute pressures: housing shortages, traffic, services strain, and informal settlements. Abuja, built as the federal capital, represents planned urbanism, but the costs of institutions and services remain enormous. Port Harcourt's oil economy contrasts the urban experiences of southern and northern cities. Across urban centers, innovation hubs, fintech startups, and creative clusters point to a dynamic urban future if infrastructure and governance can catch up. Security, governance, and reforms. Security remains a major challenge. Islamist insurgency in the northeast, banditry and kidnappings in the northwest and middle belt, and maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea have imposed human and economic costs. Improving governance, fighting corruption, strengthening institutions, and delivering services is central to addressing insecurity. President Bola Tinubu's administration from 2023 has pursued fiscal reforms, including subsidy removals and currency changes aimed at macro stability and attracting investment. These measures have generated both investor confidence and public hardship in the short run, shaping political debates ahead of future elections. Future pathways: youth, tech, agriculture, energy, and AFCFTA. Nigeria's future hinges on a few clear levers. First, jobs for youth. The median age is very young, and millions enter the labor market yearly. Second, digital innovation. Lagos is already a continental tech hub, with fintech and e-commerce scaling rapidly. Third, agriculture modernization can reduce food imports and boost rural incomes. Fourth, energy oil remains important, but gas and renewables offer paths to cleaner growth and industrialization. Finally, continental integration through the AFCFTA can open markets for Nigerian manufacturing and services. These pathways need investment, better governance, and social contracts that reduce inequality and expand opportunity. Conclusion and reflection. Nigeria's evolution is not a single arc. It is many stories braided together. Kingdoms, empires, and coastal traders, colonial legacies and creative revolutions, oil wealth and grassroots ingenuity. The choices made today about governance, inclusion, and investment will shape the next chapter. If this documentary gave you a clearer picture of Nigeria, hit like, subscribe, and comment. Which topic should we deep dive into next? Lagos, Nollywood, the Niger Delta, or youth tech? Sources are in the description. Thank you for watching.